Hello besties, today we are doing a nail art inspired tumbler tutorial using alcohol inks and foils. But before then, let me welcome you to our YouTube channel, Misfit Makers Besties. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms and click that subscribe button so you'll be notified of any new content. Make sure to check out our website and our Patreon. Okay guys, well, as you saw in the initial picture, I have some of these tiny tipsies and these little tipsy sleeves to make them straight. I'm going to show you how to adhere them. I'm using Fast Set Turbo from CCDIY to adhere my little sleeve. This makes the little tipsy straight. Although the tutorial will be on the little tipsy itself without the sleeve, in our mentorship group, I actually did the one with the sleeve on it, but it's the same process other than putting on the sleeve. So I put the little sleeve on with a tiny itty bitty bit of turbo. I mixed 2.5 mLs of each and then mixed it and then put it on the little bottom base of my tiny tipsy. Here I am putting them on, and then I just set them aside until they cure. So that's how you go about putting these little sleeves. You can find these little tiny sleeves at Craft Crate and these tiny tipsies at Tipsy Magnolia. Okay, so let's get started with our design. I'm super excited. I'm using Pop of Color here. I don't know why I grabbed this color. It is like I think it was wool. I figured it would be white enough for my base, but later you'll see that it didn't work out for me. So I did a coat of this because I had already committed. Just a nice thin coat. Then I'm going to let it dry. Lamb's wool, that's what I used. And so then I decided, let me do my second coat with the dispersion paint from CCDIY, which is a very pigmented white. I did one coat of this, as you see, very pigmented. Let it dry really well. And then I put a thin coat of UV and let that cure under the UV light. Then we were ready for our next step. After it is done curing, you want to sand it very lightly, basically to scuff it up to have a good base for your alcohol inks. You can also choose to spray paint this if you do not want to paint it, but it was really windy and cold, so I chose paint instead inside. Okay, so this is my inspo nail pick. I'm going to be using intense alcohol inks from the Crafty Cow and some of my Tim Holtz alcohol inks as well, kind of to match the picture. It was like a dark blue and like a very like dark mossy green. I don't know how to describe it. I think it's bottle, and the other one is the intense blue from Crafty Cow. So as you see, I just have a little paintbrush and I'm just kind of dabbing it. You don't want to paintbrush it. You want to give it like some texture. So I'm just dabbing, and then at that little crease, you want to kind of blend it. If it gets too dark or you don't like it, you could also wipe it down with alcohol and kind of start over. As you see, I left my handle on untouched. We're going to do something else with that. We're going to do the foils on that. So anyway, I'm just kind of blending it and adding final touches. After this, then you want to grab your favorite Tack-It glue. I'm using Magic Tack-It from Adhesive Apothecary, and I am just using a little brush, very light coats. I did it straight out of the bottle, let it dry with my heat gun or just air dry. And after it's nice and tacky, you want to put your foil flakes. You can use foil paper or foil flakes. I like the look of the foil flakes because it gives it more texture and dimension, kind of like the nails. If you notice very quick, if you pause the video and look at the nail art, you can see that they have like little flakes. I'm putting some of that Magic Tack-It on the actual tumbler as well. And then I'm using a different, like a color shifting, more translucent foil to kind of sprinkle it on my cup. So I'm just kind of tap. Sorry, it's going so fast, but just kind of tapping it and then letting it dry briefly. This stuff dries so quickly, and then tapping the foil on there. Okay, now I'm going to seal it all with some more UV resin. I'm using UV resin from the Glitter Guy, and I'm just doing a very thin coat, basically to seal my alcohol inks and to seal my foil and get it ready for the next step, which is painting the snowflakes. Okay, so I'm gonna be completely honest. This took a lot. I had to practice and erase, practice and erase. And I did it on a piece of paper first so I can kind of get the feel for it. I'm using a precision tip on this little acrylic paint bottle. You can use pop of color as well if you want, whatever you have. I just had this precision tip that was shaped for this bottle, so that's what I used. I'm also using a little toothpick to kind of pull at it. So my advice to you is practice off the cup. If you decide to go straight to the cup or you make a mistake on the cup, you can always grab like a little paper towel with alcohol and wipe it down. But as you see, I'm started off with lots of little dots and then use my toothpick to kind of pull at my paint. So here it is. This is in sped up motion, but this took a lot and my hand was not steady. I bet I had a lot of coffee this day, so I advise against coffee. And if it doesn't work out the first time, wipe it off and try again. That's why we put a thin coat of UV and then cured it, so that way we'd have a smooth surface to erase and start over if we had to. So after we do our snowflakes, I think I did 3 snowflakes overall. You want to let your paint dry and then you want to put a coat of either epoxy or UV. I'm using UV again, but this time a thicker coat because this will be my final coat. Regardless of what you decide to use, make sure this is your final coat. I don't usually use UV as a final coat, but since this is a little tiny shooter, I felt completely confident that it would be fine. This is not like an everyday cup that you use. So after that cures, you want to clean off your rim just like any other cup and clean the inside. And then we are going to go straight to our rhinestones. Remember, that was our last coat. Whether you decide to use epoxy or UV, that should be your absolute last coat. Look how cute it looks already. So our nail inspo has little rhinestones. Okay, so I'm using Liquid Fusion, which is my favorite glue to adhere stones, and I'm using stones, I believe, in the size 4 and 6. So get your tiniest little itty bitty stones so you can decorate this tiny little cup. Now, mind you, you can do this design as well at any size cup, would look cute. But I just thought, let me do a little canvas since my inspo was on a little canvas, which is a nail bed. So not as tiny as a nail, but still. Lots of props for people that do nail art because I just don't know. I could never. This was a challenge in itself. I cannot imagine doing it on a nail bed. But anyway, here is how it's looking. You want to let your glue dry completely and make sure your cup is nice and dry before you're ready to use it. But I feel like it just gives it the little pops. Look at my little inspo. See the little flakes right there? That's what I was talking about. Those little like iridescent flakes that the nails have. But anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial and it inspired you. Make sure to look at all those nail arts. I get inspired by that kind of stuff all the time. And then try to recreate it on a cup. Or if you can't recreate it just like it, at least get inspired by the color palettes or the rhinestones or the art on it. But here is the slow-mo of the final product. Look how pretty it looks. I did a couple of them on live and I used purples and blues and golds and different colors. So play around with your inks. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much to all our Patreons. Thank you to all our besties for always supporting us. Make sure you click that subscribe and follow button. That way you could be notified of any new content. Till next time, besties. See you guys.